Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Rocha, Chodash, Ma'amah. I want to give a double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Also, I want to give a double honors to my elder apostle, Harawan Ban Yasharala of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida, and Salakia. Also, a double honors to the elders, bishops of GMS as well, and also a double honors to my bishop of this camp, the Lions Den Camp, Kanaksan Ban Yasharala. Shalom to the Sentir Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Harab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala here in Jacksonville, Florida. Not today. I'll be coming out with this lesson is on this article that the Bishop Kanak of this camp put in the chat. And it says the Strait of Hormuz chaos is just a dry run for if war breaks out between the U.S. and China, Singapore foreign minister says. Now, what we see with what's going on over there in the Strait of Hormuz, over there in the east, what we see is a precursor to a bigger conflict that is going to cause all the nations to be moved, or should I say, go to the east to fight World War III. And this is all the Lord's doing. So I'm gonna read this article, that I'm gonna get a few scriptures. It says today's tumult in the Strait of Hormuz may be a dress rehearsal for tomorrow's war in the Pacific, according to Singapore Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan. So when they talking about it in the Pacific, you're like, man, look at that's some clean, except for that crap right there. But they say the Pacific. Where my other phone at? I said, like, hold on. Anyways, he was saying it was going to lead to a bigger conflict in the Pacific. Well, the bigger conflict is not going to be in the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be over there in the east. So that person is wrong when it comes down to that. But he is right in the sense of it's going to lead to a bigger conflict. You know? So let's continue. It says the city-state considers both the United States and China as partners. U.S. entities make up the largest share of its largest that's crazy foreign investments, with American multinational enterprises directly pouring $467.6 billion into the country in 2024. Not only that, the U.S. trade surplus with Singapore has reached a 3.6 billion last year per U.S. Trade Representative data, a 91.5, so 91.5% increase from 2024's 1.7 billion. So of course Singapore is doing business, so they coming up basically. So they've seen an increase since they've been doing business with China and America, but China and America are not partners. You know, as far as being allies, they may do business, maybe. I don't know. I have to do some more looking into that. But it ain't finna be like that for long, and end up at some point, you know, once because the drums of war are already beating. So at some point, Singapore is going to have to choose a side, even though it's going to say that in the article, but it's going to choose a side. And more than likely, they probably going to end up siding with Moab. But you know, let's continue, though. It says at the same time, Singapore has also reached its largest trade partnership with China, exporting 58.8 billion worth of goods there in 2023. So but let's continue, because see, Singapore is they for lack of a better term, they caught between a rock and a hard place. You know, proverbially. But let's continue. It says while the U.S. looks to extend a tenuous ceasefire as the war continues, China is maintaining a low profile. China been doing that for a minute too. It says publicly as a peacekeeper, despite this happening on the world stage, Balakrishnan said he doesn't feel like Singapore has to pick between two countries. However, should tensions between the U.S. and China escalate, which it will, in a future conflict, Singapore may be placed in a challenging position to navigate its best interests while maintaining diplomacy with its two partners. And the best interest that's going to be for Singapore will be to side with China. And it is what it is because Babylon is going down. Thus saith Yahweh Shemel Shai. That rock in the hard place, where China is that hard place and Babylon is that rock. And rocks sink once you put them in the water. I ain't never ever seen a floating rock. And what is this rock doing? It's causing everybody, it's causing problems for the whole earth. Everybody. It's messing up everything. It's messing up trade, slowing up processes, causing things to start to grind to a halt. But let's continue. I guess this is the Balakrishnan man talking. And it says, are we exquisitely positioned to take advantage of developments both in America and China? This is a question he asked. We are, he says, we are, he said. The main danger is the relationship or that relationship fractures if they go to war in the Pacific. They ain't going to war in the Pacific. Everybody going to war in the East. According to Joel chapter 3, which the Lord is going to do. Everybody going to go over there and fight. They're not going to fight in the Pacific Ocean. They're going to fight over there in the East. The Pacific is in the West. But let's continue. But that's where the Lord going to come from. And they're going to be fighting over there already. But let's when he comes down out of the heaven, when he cracks that sky, as the Akim like to say, when the Lord crack that sky and come through with the heavenly hosts, that's where the Lord coming from. He ain't coming from nothing over there in the Pacific. That's just one big old body of water in the ring of fire. Cause they got active volcanoes and stuff around that area. But let's continue. It says that relationship fractures if they go to war in the Pacific. What you're witnessing now in the Strait of Hormuz is just a dry run. It's a precursor to a bigger conflict that's not gonna happen in the Pacific. It's gonna happen in the East, and it is what it is. And it says Singapore's stake in the Iran war. It says the ongoing conflict in the Gulf may be jostling the U.S. and China's position as global superpowers. It's definitely jostling the U.S. I don't know about China, though. It says shipping traffic at the Strait of Hormuz, though through which 20% of the world's oil usually passes, has yet to return to its normal flow. Because you have what I call the plug. Babylon is the plug. It says as the U.S. blockade seeks to stymie Iran's oil revenue, which is an act of war, it is also, Salakia, leaving oil prices elevated and threatening high gas prices and inflation in the U.S. And of course, that's what is that's so this is going on. It says, meanwhile, China has frequently, Salakia, quietly benefited from the U.S. exertions in the war. Of course, they trading oil in the yuan. China has the yuan. Duh. That's their currency. It says while its export market is slowing due to rising energy prices, China's steep investment in renewables may see Salakia increased demand as other countries look to diversify energy sources. So you ain't doing no but causing people to look for alternative energy sources with the tomfoolery. But let's continue. It says ongoing sanctions and tariffs have also encouraged China's allies, such as Iran and Russia, to de-dollarize, and move away from trading oil with the petrodollar, a fixture of global trade that has allowed the U.S. to keep a tight grasp, a chokehold on the worldwide reliance on the dollar. Instead, the industry experts say ships have been able to pass through the Strait of Hormuz using the Chinese yuan, further weakening the dollar. So like, let me put this. It ain't. There we go. It says, while tensions slowly mount between these two countries, Belakrishnan indicated that if forced to choose one power over another, Singapore would prioritize its own needs without taking a side. You gonna see, yeah. Singapore. Let me see. Let's see what they army look like. I'm using another phone, so slack you. Okay, so Singapore, they possess a very technologically advanced and well equipped military in Southeast Asia. Oh, and they're considered, okay, some of the most capable. Okay, so hey, all right. I mean, okay. I guess Singapore can hold its own. But let's continue. But let's continue. It says we will refuse to choose. Balakrishnan said, the way we conduct our affairs is we assess what is in Singapore's long-term national interest, and if I have to say no to Washington or Beijing or anyone else, we don't flinch from that. Okay, I mean, hey, basically they saying, hey, we got hands, we can throw them if need be. But let's continue. It says, but they will also know that when we say no, it's not at the behest of the other party. We are acting in our own long-term national interest. He added, we will be useful, but we will not be made use of. Okay, them's is fighting words right there. You might have to prove it. But let's continue. Okay. It says the Singapore's precarious plans for the Strait of Malacca, however you say that. You know, it says the Strait of Hormuz chaos may already be foreshadowing challenges Singapore may face in the Pacific. Tehran has proposed charging tolls to ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz as a means of generating revenue amid ongoing economic strain. Should tolls be implemented, yeah, which would violate the UN? Yeah, he's gonna violate what we put in place. No, man, you causing problems for people, so they gonna find workarounds. But it says here which would violate the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, according to legal experts. It would set a precedent for tolls to also be deployed at the Strait of Malacca, a 500-mile waterway passing by Singapore, which sees ships carrying about 30% of the world's traded goods. I mean, that's a money making opportunity and move. But hey, let's continue. It says Balakrishnan said that the states surrounding the Strait of Malacca, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, have a cooperative mechanism to not collect tolls, as it will go against their best interests as trade independent countries. So, I mean, they may come to a deal between themselves and be like, we could all get paid from this. But let's continue. I mean, that would be smart. But let's continue. But that's just my opinion. Uh, you know, opinions are more often wrong than they are right. Um, Even if geopolitical tensions were to boil over and extend to the Pacific, the minister said not only would he advocate against tolls, he would also avoid different treatment of the U.S. and China. The right of transit passage is guaranteed for anyone, Balakrishnan said. We will not participate in any attempts to close or interdict Salakia or impose tolls on in our neighborhood. Of course, they all by Malaysia, Singapore. I wouldn't charge them no toll, but Malaysia and Singapore and uh, what they said over there, Indonesia, they all need to band together and charge tolls for people coming through there. Say, hey, you know what I'm saying? You want to come through us? You got to give us something. But let's continue. Middleman. But anyways, uh, it says a single. I'm gonna read a little bit more of this, and because it's. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna skip. I ain't gotta skip. Might as well just finish reading the rest of it. It says as Singapore tries to maintain diplomatic ties with both China and the U.S., it may be cooling relations close to home. Other Southeast Asian nations are talking alternative approaches to trade passage access. Indonesian French Minister Prubaya Yudhi Sadewa, however you say his name, uh, has said the country is weighing levies on vessels traveling through the strait as a way to monetize the busy choke point. Thailand's government is fast tracking plans for a land bridge that will connect between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. And the Indian Ocean over there, that shows straight. That's a very that's a main artery too, you know. But they it says here they a land bridge between the two India and Pacific Oceans and bypass the Strait of Malacca. I mean, hey, if it makes sense. Nurul Izzah Anwar, the daughter of the Malaysian Prime Minister and Deputy President of the People's Justice Party, has criticized Krishnan's earlier decision to not negotiate with Iran to access the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, that is kind of retarded. Once uh, again citing his belief that international law dictate trade routes passages or passage as a right, not a privilege. Anwar suggested Balakrishnan's decision was not universally favorable for all countries in the region. Malaysia was among a few countries granted toll-free passage through the Strait of Hormuz by Iran. It says Malaysia will not be lectured on the merits of engagement, she said in a statement. Yeah, okay, so she's basically saying we ain't finna be talking about all this. But anyways, based on what this, I guess this is the man, what his name is, Balakrishnan. I guess that's him right there. Well, he's wrong when it comes down to a war breaking out in the Pacific. Now, if the Lord want that to happen, yes, it could happen because the Lord says we will heal wars and rumors of wars. Matthew 24. And countries against countries, nations against nations, kingdom against kingdom. So, I mean, it could happen, but biblically, ain't no war going down in the Pacific. The war gonna happen in the East, where President Babylon done sunk the army at already, and now two heavy hitters finna step into the game, China and Russia. It's finna be, but let's continue though. I just got a few scriptures. This is Joel chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 2. It says, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So the Lord is this is the Lord's judgment against his enemies. These other nations are the Lord's enemies, and he gonna gather them over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is in the east, not in the Pacific, which is the west. He's gonna gather them over there in the east, all the nations. He's gonna gather them over there in the east, and he's gonna plead with them there. Meaning, he's gonna judge these other nations there, all these other nations, because they're gonna be fighting against each other in World War III. And in the midst of their fighting, Yahweh Shai is gonna show up, and that's who's gonna bring the judgment. So the Lord is gonna plead with them there, and he's gonna judge them for what they did to us, his people. The Lord's heritage that these heathen nations have scattered us everywhere. We're around the four corners of the earth. We're all in Singapore. We're all in China. We're all in Russia. We everywhere. We're the majority. Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the speckled bird of our people, meaning our people that look like these other nations among these other nations. So this is what the Lord is going to do. He's going to gather them there. And that's where the fighting is going to begin. But, a skirmish could happen over there in the Pacific Ocean, but it ain't finna be the end all be all. That's gonna happen over there in the East. That's the end all be all right there. That's where it's going. That's where it's gonna go down. As a matter of fact, that's where it's going down at right now. But let's continue. Might as well. Uh jump down to verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up." So proclaim this among the heathen. And this is something that these other heathen nations gonna know and have to know too. World War III is gonna ramp up and they're gonna be a part of it. They're gonna participate in it. You other heathen nations, y'all gonna participate in it. Whether you want to or not. Whether you pick a side or not. The Lord says he's gonna judge the nations. All the nations. So prepare war. Get ready. Get in gear. Check your load out. Make sure you're functioning on all four cylinders. Or all cylinders, however terminology you want to use. That's what the Lord is saying. Come, get your men of war ready. Get all your soldiers, get your sergeants and your admirals and your generals and your chief master sergeants and all that whole thing. Get everybody. Get everybody ready. Draw near, let them come up, meaning get them ready. Let's go. It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong." So for these other nations that may not have a big giant army, but they still got enough. They still got a small force to be able to defend themselves enough. Get ready, get your weapons ready, get everything up. It says beat your plowshares and swords, meaning prepare. Start doing your research. Start building weapons, getting them ready, getting your trajectories and all that, getting your ranges and all that stuff. Everything, get all that. Beat your pruning hooks and the spears and let the weak say I'm strong. So these other weak nations that were once looked at as weak, or even still can be considered weak, even in today, guess what? We're going on suit up because now you strong not to. The Lord finna make all the nations on the earth strong. And he gonna build them up so all of them can fall strong. At the brother Mazan in this camp like to say, doing all that being built up and getting built up. Now you all big and strong. Guess what? The Lord did that on purpose, so you can fall big and strong. But let's continue. Verse 11. It says, "Assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, and cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh." So again, the other nations, assemble yourselves, get ready. Link up, squad up, all you heathens. Get it together, get it in order. Gather yourselves round about. Prepare. And the Lord said he's going to cause his mighty ones to come down. Meaning, y'all get prepared. Going on over there in the east. Going on, start doing your stretches, work out, build your weapons, do all that. Because once y'all start and things really get to rolling, Yahweh Shai going to show up. And guess what? He's showing up with the heavenly hosts. The angels in chariots. That's who he's showing up with. Them the mighty ones that the Lord gonna let come down. The Lord showing up with Michael, the archangel. He built for war. Yeah, let's continue. Verse 12. It says, "Let all the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." So the Lord says, let the heathen be awakened. So all you other nations, y'all gonna get ready. Even you small nations, get ready. Go ahead, because now you strong too. The Lord gonna come break all y'all like dishes. But that's where the real war gonna happen at over there in the east. It says the Lord gonna gather them to the valley of Jehoshaphat over there in the east, and that's where he gonna judge these nations. That's where the judgment gonna happen. That's gonna be the real war over there. A skirmish over there in the west, in the Pacific, and the real battle is gonna happen in the east. Last point, because even these small nations like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and all them, guess what? They're going to have to pick a side. You have to do something. Last point, Jeremiah 50, verse 22. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. So a sound of battle is in the land. The drums of war are beating. And the Lord told us in Matthew chapter 24 that we was going to hear about wars and rumors of wars. Nations against nations and kingdom against kingdom. The Lord tells us what? Don't be troubled, meaning don't be bothered by that, because it's just the beginning of sorrows. It's still some things that's got to happen. It ain't many, but it's still some things that's got to happen before we see a true turnaround and the world flip from being in the hands of the wicked to being in the hands of the righteous. That's when the world gonna be fire. Right now, the world gonna be fire, but it's gonna be fire in judgment. The world to come is gonna be fire and righteousness, and we ain't gonna have all this tomfoolery we got now. And with that, shalom.